Yeah, fella. Here at Bunky's Charters and Fuel. Sid's tying a knot of some sort, Sydney knot, and we're getting some fuel. Unfortunately, the marina didn't have, they don't have fuel right now, so we're gonna go see how we get some fuel. Fill up the jerry cans. We use it on the way down.
I love these ammonite sounds.
Oh yeah, those are cool. I like the reds and the blues. This is a video, Sid.
Thank you.
Your flash is on.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's coming around. I think these are some exotic goldfish. We've got a lionfish here. If I recall, these are an invasive species in a lot of the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Let's see, I think I saw, yeah, invasion. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
What?
That's what it said. Yeah, so red dots. Yeah, I don't think they really have any natural predators because of their spikes on them. He's snoozing.
There's 3.
See him breathing? Oh, I can see the one in the back. See his fur?
Yeah, there's 3 in there.
Yeah.
With the signs.
You can even have a trampoline and a playground. Look at the big fans for sucking up the dust. So here we have some early gasoline engines, and so that one up there is 3 cylinders and it's 30 horsepower flat. And then this one over here is a 1 cylinder and it's 7 horsepower. So it's pretty crazy the size of them back then versus the power. I'm definitely getting some BioShock vibes from this guy. And that's his pump to get his air. Gonna smoke some of that tobacco. think this one wins the coolest design award. Very retro, futuristic looking. 1938, 2.5 horsepower. All right, and just like that, our first day actually out exploring Solomon's Island was over. Now, unfortunately, the day after, on that Sunday, we had some pretty strong weather, and we weren't really able to either take the dinghy out. We did want to try potentially going up to one of these beaches, or just exploring the town a little bit further. But what we did end up doing is we had some friends down, and we ended up going to Tiki Bar for the majority of the day/evening. So, unfortunately, there's very little footage of that night, as you would expect, but I figured I would highlight kind of a map overview of where we went at Solomon's Island, and then also explain some of the fun spots to check out. So we stayed right here at this marina. Now, oddly enough, it does not show up on Google Maps when you zoom in, but it is called Harbor Island Marina. So you go ahead and type that in. For some reason, it connects to this building over here, even though this is technically the marina right in this area. So overall, the marina was pretty good. When we were there, they did not have any fuel, unfortunately, so we did have to take the dinghy up to one of the potential fuel docks up in this area. They had diesel for us, which was good. Now, one of the reasons we stayed here is because it is one of the cheaper spots in the area. It doesn't have the nicest bathroom kind of setup, but for us, it doesn't really matter since we shower and use the head on the boat. Now, we did also stop at this marina when we were coming up north from first purchasing the boat. And overall, if you're on a budget and you don't really care about bells and whistles, great marina, no complaints at all. One of the main spots that everyone likes to hit is the Tiki Bar. So here we have the Tiki Bar, and as you can see, this satellite imagery looked like it was taken on one of the larger weekends. You can see all of the cars parked here and all the people out and about. Interesting thing about Tiki Bar is I'm pretty sure, based off of when I was there, it looks like it used to be kind of like a motel, and they've converted the area in between the two buildings into the actual kind of like bar area. And they have multiple bars. I think there's 4 or 5, so getting a drink's pretty easy and straightforward. And the prices are pretty reasonable as well. Now, you can pretty much walk to most spots in Solomon's Island. At least we did. We actually ended up having to walk all the way to the West Marine, which you can see up here. So that was a pretty long walk, actually. Let's see how far it was. So if we go ahead and measure distance from about here to here, it's about 1.1 miles. So wasn't super far, but still wasn't super ideal. It would be nicer if we had maybe a little bike or something. We also potentially could have had the option to dinghy up. We were kind of in a rush to get there and didn't have time to look for a good dinghy spot, so we just kind of went on a quick walk/jog to get there. And while we're kind of up in this area, one of the really good spots to hit, in my opinion, is the Calvert Marine Museum. So this is the most of those video clips that you saw in this episode were filmed at the Calvert Marine Museum. So we spent a couple hours there on our Saturday when we were there, and we really definitely enjoyed it. I mean, there's a lot of really cool kind of fossil and historical artifacts, whether it be animals from these prehistoric eras, also a lot of maritime relics from dating all the way back to kind of the inception of the U.S., which is kind of pretty neat. And you can kind of see the evolution of the different engines, of how the engines were originally built and created, and how they've evolved to take on their kind of current form. The Calvert Marine Museum is actually only about $9 per adult, which is pretty reasonable and definitely worth it overall, in my opinion. This was one of the beaches we did want to hit. We saw this kind of coming in, and there's also up here on this point, there's Point Patience. This one would have been a pretty long stretch to get to on our dinghy, but I've heard some pretty good things about it. You can kind of anchor up here, hop onto the beach, and kind of enjoy the sun, which would have been really nice if it weren't for the strong weather. But we'll definitely have to hit that on our next time when we go down. Now, for reference, if we were to attempt to get there on the dinghy, if we do some quick measurements here, it would be about 3 miles or so So not too far. Our dinghy definitely could do it now with the new battery, but it was a pretty windy day out, and it wouldn't have even been enjoyable if we were to get there. It was blowing about 20 knots that Sunday, so we decided to kind of skip that. And if you have a chance, I definitely recommend just kind of walking through some of these kind of quote-unquote neighborhood or more residential areas. There's some really, really cool homes there. A lot of them are kind of like bungalow-type feels. I don't know if there's any regulations around building two-story homes or certain square footage homes, but even the new buildings, so the ones, the residential homes that have been built in the past, they look like they've been built in the past 5 years or so, and the ones that are even under construction, they're all very, very small and compact. So as you can see from the satellite imagery, pretty much everything's small and bungalow look. And if we go ahead and, drop a little guy here, I mean, you can see this is kind of the vibe of all the homes. So regardless of whether it's a new home, it's an old home, they're all pretty much these kind of quaint little bungalows, which are pretty darn sweet. Kind of jumping from these little bungalow homes here, if you come across the harbor a little bit ways here, there's actually a ton of really, really big homes. So, I mean, zooming in on some of these guys here, I mean, those are some massive, massive mansions. So if that's kind of your thing, there's a lot of houses to go check out if you go along this coast over here. One thing to note is when you're coming in and out of the Solomons Harbor, you really got to watch out for this shallow spot here, which we actually almost went across in our initial time leaving Solomons Island back when we first bought the boat. It goes down to about, I want to say, 3 feet here, according to the maps. So you definitely got to be careful, because you can come, right out here and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to kind of beeline it directly to the main exit here, and you can't do that because you go right into this. So if you're coming in, we had some engine issues, so we decided to kind of go around this route and then come in. If you're confident in your engine, you can go this way, but just, be careful. If there is any crosswind, it can either push you into the shore, or it can push you and you might run aground in this shallow spot if there's a crosswind as you're going through. So both times coming in, we had engine issues, so we came in this route. In addition, there are a lot of different coves here. So you can see we have a couple different creeks and coves that kind of go all the way back. So unfortunately, we were not really able to explore that due to the high wind on our second day there. We did do a little loop out from the marina, went around Molly's Leg, which is kind of like this little isolated island in the center. I believe it's actually a sanctuary. We did a little bit of loop or two around here, but the waves were so big coming back because the wind was blowing into the harbor that we were actually taking water off the bow of the dinghy. So that was the extent of our day 2 kind of excursions out. It definitely would have been nice to go and check out some of these kind of little quaint coves and creeks and all that. We did make it down this way a little bit. This is definitely much more developed. There's a lot of marinas, there's a lot of restaurants kind of on the water, and we did check that out our first day. It was really nice. It's definitely cool to go through there at least once on a dinghy, kind of check out some of the sights and sounds, and we actually went all the way down this way and then turned back around. And now overall, final review. It is the only real spot that we've gone on an excursion to, so it has to rank number 1, at least to date. No, but in all seriousness, it was a really, really fun time. There's a lot to do at Solomons. I would definitely recommend going in season, so while it's summertime out, especially while the tiki bar is open, since that's kind of like the staple that everyone has to check out. So I would recommend going at a time that tiki bar is open. Additionally, another must-do is go to that Calvert Marine Museum. Those two, in my opinion, were the kind of the best parts of the entire trip. And I believe Sid would also concur as well. Next time we do go down, we definitely want to check out some of these beaches, maybe check out some of the fishing piers as well, since we didn't get enough time to really go over there on that side of the area and really check it out. But overall, if you all have recommendations on where to go in Solomons Island, if you've been there and there's something that you think we missed out on or something that you all really like, definitely leave a comment down below. Sydney and I are planning to return back to Solomons Island this summer, and we would love any recommendations you all have on spots to check out in the future. And now on to our trip back north to Annapolis. We are heading back to Annapolis, and as you can hear, we do have the motor on. We have a south wind pushing us barely at all. The was supposed to be a little bit better wind today, but there really isn't a whole lot. Right now, if I had to guess, it's probably 6 or 7 knots. It is supposed to pick up later today, but unfortunately we're working against a pretty strong current right now. Right now it's about 0.7 knots draining, so leaving the Chesapeake going south, and it's going to hit 1.1 right around noon, and it's 9:30 right now for reference. So we're not really making the best time, as you can see. We're at about 2,300 RPMs, and I don't want to push the engine too hard, just because we had that little issue the other day with the fuel supply. So I'm just kind of cruising a little bit right now, and then might crank it up a little bit more. You can see the tachometer down there. It's about 2,400, 2,300. We had some issues right around 2,600 yesterday, is when we started having fuel supply issues. So hoping the wind picks up and we can actually make some time here, but this rate will probably take us about 8 hours to get back. So we'll probably be getting in around 6 or 7 p.m. if I had to guess, which isn't ideal, but it's what we're working with. So picking up on the wind a little bit here. I got about 10 knots, 12 knots. Yes, we're still motor sailing a little bit since we're working against a 1.1 knot current right now. So we're probably going, right now we're going about 5 knots based off the GPS, but in the water we'd be going a little bit faster technically. But can't complain, we're making a pretty good time now. The wind picked up, and it's just at an awkward angle where it's pretty much directly behind us, so it's tough to keep the jib in the wind. And we might go wing all wing. I kind of need one of those poles really to secure it, so you guys having a tough time kind of staying there. We don't want to cut too much to starboard because it's a little bit shallow over that way as we get down there. So I'm trying to keep our heading relatively straight, so we're going pretty much direct north. You see 0, 4 degrees. Feeling pretty rolly. The wind is picking up. We're now going about a little over 4 knots, just under sail. We have the motor in neutral, just to let it cool off a little bit before we turn it down. But you can probably hear the rolliness. See all the waves behind us. Right now we're working against a pretty strong current, so some of this rolliness I think is probably from the current. Right now it's at pretty much peak, so it's about -1.1 knots outwards. So we would be going a little bit faster. We'd be going probably 5.5 from working against this current. And the good thing is that this is peak current against us, so soon enough it will be pretty much current will be pretty much flat, and we'll be cruising on along.
I might say it again.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
It's a rough day to be going south.
There will be a bridge. Loud and clear, Chesapeake Bay, south of West Road.
You can see the waves behind us. No, camera never does it justice, but riding the waves. We are within sight of the Bay Bridge. Just directly ahead, a little bit off the starboard. You can see some of the tankers too. I don't know if you can see the bridge on the video. We also were able to calibrate our autopilot finally. I tested using it out. It's a little bit tough right now because we got the wind directly behind us, and we're trying to go a little bit port and not jive at the same time, so it's a little bit iffy. I need to turn up the sensitivity on the compass too, because for the autopilot, it turns the wheel a little bit too slow, and then it ends up not being able to kind of keep up with the rolly waves. But apart from that, it's been pretty smooth sailing way up. We put the jib in just because we really couldn't get it in a good spot with the wind coming directly behind. If we had a pole, it'd be a different story, but we're moving just fine with the main. Now, the funny thing is we've been working against the current the entire day. So Solomon's Island, we started off, the current was working against a 1.1 knot current, and as we've come up the Chesapeake, we've pretty much almost hit every single spot along it at its peak outflow. So when we get to Annapolis, it'll just kind of be in the mid-range of outflow, but Solomon's right now is already water's flowing in from down there. So just goes to show how much the tides make a difference since we've been working against it the whole day. On the last legs of the trip, you can see the triple Eiffel Towers there. And it looks like there's a cargo ship here. And I want to say it has like, they almost look like wind turbine blades. Can't tell if that's what they are, because the ones in the rear right look kind of like square, but the ones on the left there in the front, they look pretty wing-ish. So, I don't know. Pretty cool though. And with that, there you have it. There's our complete trip from Annapolis down to Solomon's Island and back to Annapolis. This video has been a long time in the making, mainly because it took us a while to get the boat in ready enough shape to make such a long, for us, long excursion. Now this is the first kind of excursion that we've done, so we're really excited to hear kind of what you all think about it. If you liked my videography style, if you didn't like it, things that we could improve upon, so on and so forth. As I mentioned earlier on in this video, we do have another trip planned down to Solomon's Island, hopefully again this summer. And we'd also like to get to St. Michael's, potentially Kent Island, and maybe north as well. So if you all like it, please let us know, and thank you for watching.